I got it right here if you want it. There it is.
The 309.
Yeah. 339-0709. Hopefully he'll be answering. I think he has been on with us once before, hasn't he? Yeah. Get this little puppy rolling.
Your call has been automated voice messaging system.
So let them know we'll call them right back.
Yeah.
503
I'll text him.
90709 is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you finish recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hi, Bruce. It is Bruce McGowan and Edward Brown, ready for our interview with you on Sports Econ 101. Bruce is going to text you now, and we'll call you back in just a bit. Thank you. Bye.
Could you pick up? We just tried calling you.
Okay, asked some of these questions once before. It'll be easy for you.
All right.
Are you going to watch the Super Bowl?
I don't know. You know, I usually go over to a friend's house to watch it, but I'm not sure.
They got another one of those invites from Lee Steinberg. But
Oh, did you?
Yeah, but it's in Houston. I'm not going to fly all the way to Houston for a party.
Yeah, that's too far.
Especially for, 4-hour party.
Yeah, I've been to one of his parties before. They're fun. They really are. I've actually been to two of them. One before the game in L.A. This is good. That's ringing a little bit more now. Let's wait a few more minutes. Yeah, he had a big one on a lot, like a Western lot in Hollywood, on one of the studio lots. That was fun.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And then he had one in Atlanta in some big hotel, big swanky hotel. That was good.
You just happened to be out there, or you didn't fly out?
No, I was working for KNBR at the time. I was covering the Super Bowl, so we had a tie-in with him, and he invited all the KNBR people to show up. God, last night I was so pissed because I was invited to this Bill King event at Perry's.
And don't tell me about the game because I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, okay. Last night's game you didn't watch?
No, I did Mark, my co-host on the other show, did a big fun event.
Okay.
It's been great.
Well, anyway,
So Bill King.
So Bill King, yeah. So all these people from his past, from the A's, from the Warriors, former broadcasters, people like Hank Greenwald, and I wanted to go, and the thing was, I found out the last second it started at 5 o'clock. I thought it started at 7. My wife wasn't home till 6, so I couldn't go.
Oh.
And I really wanted to go. If I'd known, I would have had Molly go to a friend's house or something.
Yeah.
But and it turned out to be a friend of mine went and said it was great.
Oh.
Yeah.
I had one of those one time where I got invited to something, and I don't know how I misread the invite. I thought it went from like 1 to 4, and I showed up at 1, and it ended at 1.
Oh.
It's just like, how did I mess that? I messed that one up.
I hate that. There you are. Hey, there you are, Bruce. Hey, can we call you right back on our other phone? Got you. We'll call you right back. Thanks, man. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, he's there. I think he's driving. In the car.
Oh, we have to do our 2-minute segment.
Oh, you want to just record that at the end? Yeah. Let's do that. Get right into it. Not a problem.
Your call has been automated voice.
What's going on?
We do have the right number.
Yeah, you're calling. All right, let's see. Make sure here. You're calling.
339-0709?
Yeah, 339-0709.
Code 650.
Try one more time.
Okay.
You might be bouncing around between places where the signal's cutting in and out. You never know. If it rings more than twice, then you're in good shape.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably good. I think we might make it this time.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey.
Okay, we're all set?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll get this puppy started so we won't keep you waiting.
All right, you have an agenda?
Yeah. Sure,
okay,
sure.
Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce. You know what?
What's
Hold
that?
on a second.
What happened?
Oh, I don't know.
are you, Bruce? Are you in the car?
Yep, driving along 101 here.
Okay. I took a look at the webcams. It looked pretty big out at Ocean Beach, pretty out of control. And then in Marin County, the waves were just huge. I don't know what.
Absolutely tired.
Yeah.
The average is probably going off big time right now.
Well, what was it, about a week ago? It was 70 feet down there. Somebody told me at Maverick. That's crazy. That was nuts. But it wasn't good. All right.
Okay, here we go. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports. I don't know what's going on.
Not working, huh?
Shoot.
That's never happened
That's
before.
never happened before.
Are you just got a short connection or something?
Yeah, for some reason. Hello. Okay, is it?
I'm hearing you.
I'm all the way up.
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine. You're actually over-modulating.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? Let me switch mics. So,
What?
that's it's funny. I just recorded another radio show before, and everything was fine.
Do you have another mic?
I do. That fourth one there.
Oh, here. Let me just hand it to you. Sorry about this, Bruce. We'll get you.
Yeah, because
Don't
it's plugged
worry.
in.
They say, don't worry, be happy. There we go. You said that anyway. Don't worry, be happy.
All right.
Bobby McFerrin. There you go. Whatever happened to Bobby McFerrin, Bruce? Where'd he go? He disappeared. Like so many of these people, they just sort of disappear into the ether. When is Donald Trump going to disappear? Not soon enough.
4 more years.
Oh, God. Jeez.
We're already saying
All
that.
right. I know. All right, here we go.
Okay,
This will work.
Let's make sure. Let's make sure that this can work.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. First time.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I'm not. Oh.
What's the matter?
Never mind. You know what? Something got accidentally unplugged here. That's what happened.
Oh.
Okay. Stay with us, Bruce. Stay with us.
All right.
Sorry, Bruce.
Yeah. That's what.
Oh, it's not your mic at all, then?
No, it's
Okay,
not.
here we go. All right, there you go back.
Somehow that got just a little unplugged.
Okay,
Just enough.
that happens. It happens. Remember that
I
kind of
know
stuff? When I was working at
was just
KNBR, if we ever had any problems like that, Agnew would just go ape shit.
Yeah.
He'd come into the studio and wave his arms, and his eyes would be, wide, and he'd go, "What the fuck is going on in here?"
Well, especially if you're doing it
Oh
live.
my God! Well, I mean, luckily the mics were turned off. I said, "Bob, don't ever say the F word when there's a microphone nearby. You should know that."
Yeah, really.
Jeez.
Okay.
Don't say any of those words. There's 7 words you can't say, as George Carlin would have said, right?
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, who's on the phone?
We got a good friend of ours and a longtime sports writer from the Bay Area, Bruce Jenkins, who's written for the San Francisco Chronicle for over 30 years. And Bruce, let's get right into it. Talk a little basketball, because I know this has been quite a season for the Golden State Warriors with the acquisition of Kevin Durant. Was watching the game last night. They were down by 3 with 5 minutes to go. They had them right where they wanted. They outscored them 19-7. Durant goes off. I mean, you covered Magic in the 80s. You covered, Michael Jordan in the 90s. Those were great teams. And, of course, San Antonio more recently. What distinguishes this Warrior team in your mind, allows you to put them up there in that lofty company of teams like such as the Lakers of the 80s or Michael's Bulls of the 90s?
Well, I think it's yet to be told. They still have the personnel to be in that company. As we've seen in the last few days, they lost to Miami, which has basically been a pretty awful team this year. And then last night, Charlotte took them right down to the wire. Of course, that's right after they dusted 3 of the best teams in the league. But it's historic to me in the sense that they've got Curry, Durant, and Klay Thompson. They've got 3 of the best shooters, not just now, outside shooters, but historically they rank right up there. They remind you of all the great shooters that you've ever seen. And that as many great teams that have come along, I don't recall one that had 3 shooters of that caliber. And it's a little difficult to mesh things sometimes, especially in a half-court set as pressure's on. Do you just go isolation to somebody? Do you run set some screens, pick and roll? And they're still trying to sort that out. But I have a feeling that they're going to. And when they do that, and they'll have to win the title to make this discussion relevant, I think you'll be able to talk about the Warriors in that manner.
Is he 6'11"?
Yeah, I think he's 6'11".
Is he 6'11"?
And
Okay.
it's like, he doesn't act like someone who's 6'11". He does things that, point guards do sometimes.
He is kind of a hybrid player, isn't he, Bruce?
Oh, he's unbelievable. I mean, he dribbles the ball with ease. he drives to the basket. You know, he looks like Russell Westbrook, except he's got that incredible length. And defensively, he's capable of amazing things. I mean, you see him block shots, come out of nowhere, and use that length and wingspan. And when he sets his mind to playing defense, he's very, very good. And of course, you know, his outside shooting speaks for itself, and he's a team player and everything else. So yeah, he's Dirk Nowitzki, you know, was considered the greatest. Talking about really big men, you know, which I'd say like 6'10" or above, the greatest shooter, but Durant takes that to a different level.
We're talking a lot about the Warriors these last couple of weeks, and talking with Bruce Jenkins, who has covered the NBA for many, many years. And the thing that strikes me about him, Bruce, seeing him up close in firsthand, is that they really do play. There's a palpable sense of joy on the court. Some of that, I think, comes from Steve Kerr, who allows these guys. He realizes basketball players maybe are kind of like jazz musicians. You have to give them some rope to let them, you know, express themselves. And he does have a plan, but he also realizes these are great artists that need to be allowed to kind of, you know, do their thing.
Yeah, because some of these guys are in the 20s.
Well, they're bright guys, though. I mean, they seem to pick up this stuff. I mean, have you noticed that they're just a little more worldly than, say, some of the guys around the rest of the league?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's really well put. And, you know, Bob Myers goes to great lengths to build a roster with character, with not even one exception. One bad guy can turn it all wrong. And these are, right, like you say, they're exceptionally classy guys. They get a big kick out of the team. But, you know, the reactions on the bench, you know, even if, like, say Curry and Durant are both on the bench and somebody like Ian Clark gets a couple shots, they're going nuts on the bench. They're really excited like little kids. And that's infectious. And I think that's a big part of a winning team. You know, teams will have their squabbles and stuff, but these guys basically have just get a great big kick out of what they're doing.
You know, I wonder, are other teams, you know, especially the coaches, looking at the Warriors and saying, you know, what do we need to do to emulate that?
Well, you can't. You can't emulate Thompson, Durant, and Curry. It's impossible.
No, I was thinking. I don't mean the skill level, because that's
just
true,
the joy with which they play.
Yeah,
or
because that will change.
Yeah.
What they can do is really focus on ball movement. You know, when you watch the Knicks with Carmelo Anthony, it always comes down to Carmelo, you know, isolated against the world. I was watching Cleveland against Sacramento. I think it was last night, and Cleveland's kind of struggling, and they're down 3, and LeBron inbounds the ball, like 24 seconds left, and they're down 3. He drops it to Kevin Love, and goes right back to LeBron. He immediately caps off from 30, you know, and misses, and the game gets away from him. You know, teams like to say they have great ball movement, but sometimes when it comes right down to it, they don't have anything close. So, you know, Houston is playing a lot like the Warriors now. Their ball movement's been very, very good. San Antonio, of course, that's a constant. You know, these are the teams you have to look at. But ball movement is always the secret. You know, when the teams that win it all almost invariably have fantastic ball movement. You share it. You never know what's going to come next. They're screening and pick and rolling and always thinking about the next guy. And that's something that you can emulate.
Longtime sports columnist Bruce Jenkins of the Chronicles joining us. I got to ask you about LeBron, because as we speak, the Cavs have been in a funk that you know they're going to come out of it. But boy, from what I understand, they lost the last second game at home to Sacramento of all teams, and he laid down the law. I guess Dwayne Wade did the same thing up in Chicago when the Bulls lost recently, but there was no mincing of the lane. No diplomatic words were spoken after that one. I guess maybe they needed that. I don't know.
Well, I don't know either. I don't think the general manager or some of the players are that delighted with it. I mean, you know, LeBron's really been whining about what's going on. Of course, you know, he's the bottom line to it all. You never know where it leads. It could be a positive thing. But I think that, you know, he's talking about getting a playmaker, that, you know, a second, like a backup point guard. But if that's what you really need, it shouldn't be, you know, causing all these headlines. You know, I think that the bigger problem for them is they don't play good defense. They certainly didn't play against Sacramento last night. They haven't been playing it for a couple of weeks now, routinely giving up 100 points. And, you know, they're not very big. I mean, their size amounts to Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love. And maybe, you know, Kenny Pryor, he can't shoot three. So, you know, they don't do much. They don't do a lot inside. And they've only got 2 guys who are playmakers, LeBron and Kyrie. So there's a few issues there. And, you know, when the Warriors took them apart, I think it illuminated some of it, and they're trying to figure out. I think LeBron's trying to figure out how he can get out of it.
And I wonder, you know, when guys' contracts are coming up, and you know, it seems like they're going to want to be more selfish so they can show why they're so valuable. rather than just a generic team.
But we did think, on the other hand, maybe they wouldn't because, the league, as Bruce was pointing out, now the Warriors are setting the standard with unselfish play. So I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it, Bruce, when you're a ball player coming up on a contract year?
In terms of what?
In terms of attracting attention, because if you become too much of a ball hog and too much of a diva, teams are going to want to stay away from you. On the other hand, if you can blend that quality of leadership with the ability to distribute and play defense and help out.
Like Iguodala.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like he's not usually a big scorer.
But he's
very good on defense.
He does all the little things.
Yeah. He rarely throws the ball away.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of analytics that these Bob Myers and all that. They're going to notice all that stuff.
Well, I'm just curious. Bruce has been covering NBA for a long time, and it seems like we're going back, Bruce, to the era of basketball that you and I grew up with in the 1960s, where there was a lot more passing, a lot more defense, and a lot more discipline.
Well, yeah, I mean, I follow the Celtics and Bill Russell really closely, and that's how old I am, but it's fantastic ball movement, fantastic sharing, unselfishness, and great defense. That's always been the key. That tight defense and ball movement is going to win you a lot of games. And, yeah, I agree. It's been evident with San Antonio for a long time that because they're not, terribly explosive or sexy or whatever, people tended to overlook that. But I know Steve Kerr, when he came in here, his blueprint was the San Antonio team that won it in 2014, the year before he came in and won it with the Warriors. That was his blueprint for ball movement. If you look at the finals between the San Antonio championship in 2014, the ball movement was just astounding.
Yeah.
Really, really heartwarming to watch.
Hey, Bruce, stay with us. We got to cut to a quick commercial break.
Can you hang out for one more segment, Bruce?
Yeah, I've got about 7 minutes, I guess.
Okay,
Perfect.
That's perfect. Okay, question: who holds the record for the most combined yards rushing in the Super Bowl? All right.
Okay.
Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to that question. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. All right.
And we'll just get into a little baseball and then let you get out
Yeah.
of there. Are you going up to the city, or are you going back down to down the peninsula?
I've got an appointment at the Candlestick Park area. I'm trying to get one of those cards where you can go up to the TSA pre-security every time without.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was like,
you got to make an appointment and pay $85, but it's good for 5 years, and I'm just crawling along 101 North, heading to the Candlestick. It's going to be a little nostalgic taking that Candlestick.
yeah.
I heard you were at the Bill King thing last night. I missed that because it started so early, but Rich Walkoff told me it was absolutely wonderful, and the stories and everything, and you got a chance to get in at the tail end. That sounded like a good time.
No, it was great. I mean, everybody from Dixie Oliva to Tom and Jerry to Wally Haas, and
God, I wish I was there.
Yeah, it was quite delightful, really, an all-star cast.
Okay, let's get to the next one here.
Okay, here we go.
I'll introduce Bruce. Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our first trivia question. Who holds the record for the most combined yards rushing in the Super Bowl?
And you're talking about a team rushing.
No. We're looking for a player.
Oh, player.
So
okay.
we would have probably had to play in more than one Super Bowl.
You want to take a stab at that one, Bruce? I'll throw out a couple of names.
Emmett Smith. I don't know.
See, I would have thought Emmitt Smith also.
Roger Craig?
No. You don't know this player.
Oh.
Franco Harris.
Franco Harris.
354 yards in 4 games.
4 games in 6 years. It's amazing. Well, we're
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Bruce Jenkins is joining us from the Chronicle. Bruce was a beat writer with the Oakland A's when Billy Martin was there back in the early 1980s, and now has been writing a lot of columns about baseball, basketball, soccer, surfing. But I want to talk a little bit before we get into baseball about your experience with Billy Martin. We talked about this the last time we had you on, and that was unique because Billy was kind of cut from a different cloth and almost from a different era, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, it was the best experience I had in all the years I covered ball and dealing with a manager every day. It turned out to be one of the worst things. Near the end, when he was about to get tired, he was very bitter and he's chewing everybody out. It's destructive. But in his best days, when you talk about a brilliant baseball mind, I really enjoyed watching him maneuver his way through games with a really flawed roster. I mean, he had Ricky Henderson and Dwayne Murphy and Tony Armand, the great outfield. That was about it as far as the position players, and then he had Mike Norris and Langford and the McCaddy and the fantastic pitching staff. But he did things that were just mind blowing. He had plays. He had a play where he'd have a guy like Jeff Newman on first base and Ricky Henderson on third. And Newman runs about like you and I do, which is not great, especially at our age. They'd have Newman break for second, and the other team say, "What the hell?" And then Newman would take a fastball intentionally. And he'd be fine with his stomach and go, and then he'd throw over there, and Ricky threw him right at that instant. He'd break for the plate and score.
Wow.
Just little stuff like that. I remember one night in Seattle, Maury Wills was managing the Mariners. He didn't manage them for very long.
Oh, there's another piece of work, yeah.
Nights like this did him in, but Langford was pitching, and Langford had the great sinker, you know, it was to fall off the table in front of guys, and Wills had the fine idea to have his groundskeepers move the batter's box up a couple inches. So they're going through, they're redoing the chalk line before the game, and Billy Martin's standing there at the time. He's the kind of guy who would notice this, and he's thinking to himself, "Son of a gun, I'm not believing this." He didn't say anything until the meeting at home plate, at which point he busted Wills, and boy, he talk about full-on embarrassment.
Well, he probably said, "Why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah, exactly. Kind of the crazy thing.
It was an absolutely brilliant guy, and, you know, great times on the phone. Got a little salty with Billy, but, you know, all of us writers, we had a pact that we saw a lot of things, some ugly things, but unless the cops got involved in it, it was public record.
Yeah, there were about six or seven incidents with Billy, maybe 12 in his career, but there were probably 5 times that many that weren't in the headlines, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, not really, we didn't really ignore any, like, fights or, you know, anything like that, but there's just, you know, hotel bar, really ugly stuff, shouting stuff at his own players, players shouting back at him, you know, and then, you know, all forgotten the next day when the alcohol wears off. But,
there you go.
What was he, about 5 foot nothing?
He was a little guy, really scrappy.
Yeah, pretty much small man's complex.
I
Probably.
remember hearing the story. His mom told him, I guess, you know, he was raised by a tough single Italian gal, and she said, if you get into a fight with somebody, you can always get in the first punch. Get in that first punch, you know, and Billy took that to heart. So.
Yeah, he really did, on and off the field.
Yeah. Hey, let's go to the here and now. The Cubs are coming off a championship. They've lost a few guys. The Giants are, you know, they brought in Mark Melanson. The Dodgers, of course, as goofy as they've been, are still going to be a force to deal with. Maybe one of the best teams in baseball, despite all the dysfunction that's going on down there. How do you see, just in, you know, handicapping it, you know, prior to spring training, how do you see some of the top teams this year?
Well, there's a lot of talk about the Dodgers now that they got Logan Forsythe. They settled the second base situation. They got Turner coming back. Rich Hill's coming back. You know, they're looking pretty good. People are assessing them to be the best team in the division, but I still think the Giants are right there with them. You know, the Giants have a couple of issues. You know, they're not certain of who's going to play third. What's going to happen in left field? It's going to be Williamson or Parker or somebody else. But, you know, the Giants have the great pitching. They got Buster Posey, and they got the homegrown, you know, so many homegrown stars. And I don't know. I like the way the Giants go about their business. And to me, it's pretty equal footing until further notice in terms of the Giants and the Dodgers. And they're going to be leading the race once again, which is, you know, we like it that way. Giants, Dodgers, can't get better than that.
You know, they keep talking the Dodgers, you know, every year, you know, it's the big money being spent, you know, Adrian Gonzalez, you know, that sort of thing. And yet they keep blowing it at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, they haven't been in the series since 1988. I mean, you know, the Giants, obviously, everyone knows they've been there, you know, 3 times a 5-year span. I mean, at some point you gotta get there. You know, you got all the money and everything else and a lot of talk, but you know, when it comes right down to it, who's getting it done? So, you know, I think right now they're sitting pretty good. They managed to keep some of the free agents that could have left. They got to deal with the outfield league and see how that happens. But you know, they've got Chuck Peterson and Corey Seager, a lot of real good young players. And of course, they get a Kershaw and Rich Hill. It's a good foundation for the rotation. So we'll see. It'll be real interesting. It's always hard to kind of assess what's going to happen until it actually comes down.
I'm kind of feeling sorry for the Cleveland Indians because they might have missed their window of opportunity. They were not expected to even get past the first round, and they came within an eyelash of winning the whole thing. Are they going to be a factor again this year in the American League?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how the heck they got Encarnacion. I don't know how the Red Sox didn't get him with David Ortiz retiring, but the Indians haven't lost anyone, and then they pick up this guy who's just a tremendous hitter. I mean, he's really dangerous.
How old is he now?
I don't know. It seems like about 31 or 2, maybe.
So
Yeah,
hitting his prime, yeah.
Yeah.
It was fascinating watching them last year, the way they came together, and you just thought for the Cubs' sake, my gosh, they're playing a team that's a Cinderella team. That's the last thing the Cubs need. Yet the Cubs somehow managed to surmount the difficulties. Do you think Chicago, despite losing Chapman and with the youth they've had, all these young guys coming back are going to be right there again?
Yeah, I really do. They saw the team as you watch them in the World Series. You're really struck by how young they were. With Baez and Bryant and Rizzo, and it's a really calculated plan that worked to perfection for them. And they did lose Chapman, but I think they're going to be okay. The rotation's still looking good, and all these guys are they're still growing into maturity and approaching their prime. I'd be really shocked if they're not back in the playoffs, that's for sure.
Bruce, before we let you go, I got to ask you, the thing I love about the way you write is that you really personalize things, and you bring the personalities into the picture without sensationalizing them. You really humanize them, and I think that's a rare quality.
Especially with Billy Martin.
Yeah, well, you got. I mean, is that something that you've always enjoyed doing? Because it just seems like you want to give us more than just what we're already seeing. Obviously, that's what you have to do as a sports writer, but you're giving us something different, which I find whenever I pick up your column, it's the first thing I want to read because there's some little nuggets in there. And is that something you've always prided yourself on, being able to sort of reach behind the curtain and get these guys to come out of their shell?
Well, yeah, I've always sort of had a fan's enthusiasm about the game. I'm not out there to rip and tear and find the manager and this and that. I don't. Every time I go to a game, I always feel sort of that youthful enthusiasm that you remember from as a kid. And yeah, it's amazing. It's still there for me. So that's always how I look at it. I think it served me pretty well. It's not a stressful thing. Bruce, you know this. You've been in the game for so long and well regarded. It's a real satisfying way to go.
Yeah, I notice you don't get cynical. A lot of writers and a lot of people in my profession in radio get very cynical as they get older, and it's almost fashionable to be that way. If you don't have a little tinge of that in your personality, there's something wrong with you, they say.
Bruce, are you part of the Hall of Fame writers?
Yes, I am. I've been voting since 1990, and I'm sorry I have to cut you guys off.
Okay.
That's
the appointment I got to be at.
That's quite all right.
I really appreciate you being on with us.
Yeah, enjoyed talking to you, Bruce.
You bet.
Take care. Next time we get Bruce on, I got to talk to him a little about surfing too, because that's a passion of mine. And Bruce grew up in Southern California. It's an interesting story. His dad was a very famous composer and arranger, and he worked with Frank Sinatra, Gordon Jenkins. So Bruce grew up in that, but he was able, because of his dad's interest in sports, to go to the Forum and Dodger Stadium and watch all these great, and the LA Coliseum and watch all those great teams. So all that enthusiasm was born at a rather early stage in his life. Yeah.
How does one get to be a writer? Or a
sports writer?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm sorry. To get on in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I think you have to have worked at a major paper for at least, I think it's something like 15 or 20. You don't have to work at the same one. And you have to have covered a certain number of games. I think it's something like 2,000, 3,000 games. There are people that have covered a lot fewer games than me, but I'm a broadcaster. Broadcasters are not involved in it. I don't understand that. I'd like to see team broadcasters involved, but unfortunately their feeling is, the Hall of Fame committee's feeling is, if you bring in team broadcasters, they're going to show a bias to their guys that played for their team. I don't know if that's true. I think the good announcers would know.
Yeah, but a writer, for let's say the SF Chronicle, is going to do the same thing.
Well, that's in theory. That's true. I mean, writers are supposed to be a little more aloof and a little more objective because they're not being paid by the team. But still, yeah, you can make that argument.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I still think Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens will get in the next 5 years. I really do, because I think there's an influx of young writers that are coming into this thing that don't have any recollection or resentment about the steroid era, and it's slowly sort of melting away.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right, we're going to cut to our second commercial trivia question here. In 1971, what tennis player became the first female athlete to win over $100,000 in a single year?
What year again?
1971.
Wow, okay.
That's our question. So we're going to go back, oh my gosh, that's 46 years ago? Holy smokes, Batman. Okay. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com. The answer to that question. Don't touch that dial. SportsEcon101 will be right back.
All right. Well, that was fun. Why don't we do some NFL talk?
Yeah.
Talk about the Super Bowl and This guy Chris Hogan is kind of a neat story. The wide receiver for the Patriots who caught the 2 touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
Was reading about him. He sort of fits the mold of the kind of players that Bill Belichick, gets. Sort of cherry picks these guys out of obscurity and turns them into some really good players. He's the latest. He's not a little guy though. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. So that's good. Yeah. Some other guys. Who's the little receiver they have that's so good?
Amendola or Edelman?
Edelman, Julian Edelman. God, he is good. And they do have Amendola, don't they?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, they've got. It's their system. You look at the outside of Brady, who you really know on that team. Like Eric Blunt, Amendola. But you think of the skill players, but they have some great defensive players and really smart guys. And Josh McDaniels, of course, their defensive coordinator. So that was a good pickup. So we looking good?
Yeah, let me.
Doing a little editing there.
Yeah.
This looks like a neat place. See if I can get Colette to go up maybe in a couple weeks. Well, this is nice. This is for any night too.
Yeah, just whatever the restrictions are.
Whatever the restrictions are. Yeah. Don't seem to have any. This one doesn't.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Oh, it's not valid on holidays or weekends. Oh, but until May, so we
Until
can.
May.
Yeah, that's good. Good. Oh, we could do that. Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Okay, so this will be our
Last segment.
our last big one.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our second trivia question. In 1971, what tennis player became the first female athlete to win over $100,000 in a single year?
I was going to say Chris Everett, but that's a little early. I think it was Billie Jean King.
It was Billie Jean
Yeah,
King,
yeah.
And, okay, now, I remember, the big thing about her and Bobby Riggs and...
the match of the Battle of the Sexes, the Battle of the Century.
And the thing is, okay, and he was like, 70 years old.
Well, not quite that, but he was
in
about my
60s.
age. Yeah, he was in his 60s. He was a little hustler.
He was, and he
Yeah.
was, he was in good shape for his age.
Yeah.
He was still good.
And he's a smart player. Yeah.
He's a player. And she was, what, her 30s?
She was in her early 30s,
Early 30s.
She was in her prime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. If you're going to try to do this, like, I know it was kind of sort of a joke, but then, they played pretty seriously, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have them play on an even keel? They made him play with the doubles wide.
Did they?
Yes,
I didn't remember that.
Yeah. He had to. In other words, she had a bigger.
Interesting. I did not remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that she just ran him ragged. Because he was the king of the drop shots and the trick shots. And I had a friend of mine that I used to play with up in Portland who was a tennis pro who played like Bobby Riggs. He never hit the ball hard. He'd drive you crazy with his little spin shots, and drop shots. And that's what Riggs tried, and it didn't work with Billie Jean. She figured it out and just ran him crazy. By the end of the match, he was out of breath, because he was an older guy.
But it was fairly close though.
For the first couple of games, and then she won pretty decisively. I think she won like 6-3, 6-2. She won, or maybe 6-1. She won pretty decisively the second set.
See, if they would have at least made it even, then it's like, come on.
Well, it was it. I don't think she would have had any problem with it regardless.
Sure.
Bobby was a master at the hustle,
yeah.
and he had a reputation, I guess, back in the day before he really, revitalized his career of inviting up and coming players to take him on, and he hey, how about $500 for a couple of sets? And he was making a lot of little change on the side. In those days, you had to do that, So anyway, different story today. What does the winner get in the Super Bowl now? The winning players get something like. It's actually
got to be 100-something thousand.
It's probably 50 or 100. It's not so much the money with them; it's all the endorsements, it's all the recognition, and the ring. And speaking of which, I know that Atlanta is playing very well coming into the postseason, and it would not surprise me if they win. But New England is just. I think the best thing that happened to them was Deflategate, with Tom Brady getting 4 games off. He's fresher.
Yeah.
Right now, he's only playing in his 15th game. So you think about that. Normally, this would be his 18th game.
Yeah.
He's 39 years old. So
Yeah.
he's fresh. It gave him some resolve, and I love the way they play defense. You talk about how they score, poor points on the board, but their defense is
And they
tough.
don't have Wilfork.
No, they don't have that big guy. But they do. I don't know where Belichick finds these guys, but they come up with these obscure guys. First it was Julian Edelman. Now they got this guy Chris Hogan, who I guess played college ball 1 year at Monmouth College in New Jersey. And it's an interesting story where he was a lacrosse player. He was captain of this lacrosse team at Penn State. Played there 4 years or 3 years, and he had to miss a year because he was redshirted. Graduated, but he had 1 more year of eligibility, and he wanted to play football. He knew he couldn't play at Penn State, so Monmouth was not far from where he lived, so he went there. I think he caught like 12 passes, 4 touchdowns. But then he was a practice team player with the Niners and with Miami and the Jets.
How did he get to do that?
He was a hard-working guy. One thing about lacrosse, it's a tremendous sport for conditioning, and he always impressed. He was good at earning tryouts. And when you get a tryout, you got to sell yourself almost like you're selling your product. So he was good at getting in the door. And then once he got in the door, he intrigued some people. Most people thought, he'd be a good guy to have on the practice squad. He'd keep our guys. But Buffalo finally picked him up, and he turned into a decent player. He was a good player at Buffalo, not great. I think he caught like 80 passes in 4 years. But then the Patriots saw something, and it's interesting. Belichick played lacrosse in college. Belichick's 2 sons played lacrosse, and Belichick's daughter coaches the women's team at Holy Cross. So Belichick liked the fact that he played lacrosse, so he picked him out of out of nowhere. And last week, in the championship game, he scores 2 touchdowns. He's a big kid. He's 6'3", about 200 pounds. So he's not a little guy like Edelman. But man, I love the way Belichick goes out and finds these guys, kind of like Al Davis back in the day. Finding guys at places like Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M. Where do these guys come from?
Well, I guess you just have to have your scouts out there, right?
You do, but I think Belichick has got a great group of people in the front office. But he also just seems to have a knack for knowing talent and finding guys that fit his system. And you think about it, the Patriots on paper don't have really that great a team, but they have a system and a philosophy. And I think a lot of it, we saw this with the 49ers. You play for a team that's successful. You go in there, and it just elevates you.
Yeah.
You play with guys that are better than you or as good. They bring you up. You play with dogs, you're going to play like a dog.
And Gronkowski is out.
Out. That's right. He's out. Yeah, but they're still, Atlanta, though, intrigues me. Atlanta is playing the best football of any team right now.
Matt Ryan was awesome.
Yeah.
It was amazing how accurate he was.
Does he remind you of anybody? I'm trying to think if he reminds me of anybody. I haven't watched enough of him.
No.
Like Marino, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
A big, strong guy.
Was very accurate.
Or John Elway, maybe. Big, strong arm. Yeah. I'm just thinking that they remind me so much of the team I covered this year, the Oakland Raiders. They're better than the Raiders, obviously. They clobbered the Raiders early in the season. But they have this great offensive line with 5 guys that played the entire year without getting injured.
That's amazing.
And anchored by center Alex Mack, who's from Cal, who went from Cleveland playing, I think, 7 years with one of the worst teams in football to playing with this great team in Atlanta. Can you imagine how that guy must feel?
The dream.
The dream. And their defense has been, it's underrated. It's not very good statistically, but it's played a lot better. I can't remember the name of their star linebacker, but he has something like 14 sacks. So they're a handful. They're going to be tough.
I got to think that New England is favored, but how many points?
Right now it's about a 3-point edge, but that could change. Well, I think it's because Atlanta can pour points on the board so quickly, and their defense is kind of underrated or overlooked because statistically it's in the bottom 5 or 6, but the last couple of months of the season they played really well. They won 6 games in a row. They were on a roll.
Yeah, because I remember Matt Ryan wasn't that consistent before.
He had some good numbers and decent years, but nothing like this. And I think early in the season when I saw them play the Raiders, I think it was game 2 of the season, we were stunned because the Raiders were a good team.
Yeah.
And they just shut the Raiders down. The Raiders only had 2 games where they really got shut down, and that was one of them.
You remember a few years ago when how much were they ahead of the Niners by halftime?
Oh, in the championship game. Yeah, that was a different story. In Atlanta, they were up, I think, 28 to nothing or 28 to 6 and lost that game.
Yeah.
But the city of Atlanta is a funny town, and I hope some of our listeners who are from Georgia don't take offense when I say this. I don't think it's a very good sports town, probably because the only great sports team they've ever had is the Atlanta Braves, and they've never really supported that team.
Well, they've only won one.
They've only won one, and they were in the playoffs
3 or 4.
15 times. 15 times. And here's a sad story. When they played the Giants in 2010 in the first round, they had to actually buy 7,000 tickets to make it a sellout. In Atlanta, I covered games down there. It's just not a good baseball town. It's not a good basketball town because the Hawks have been.
And was it Brian McCann who made all those errors? Second base.
God, I'm trying to remember who it was. Not McCann. It was somebody else. Yeah, somebody else. Whoever it was, his name is sort of forgotten, and probably for a good thing. It's a funny town. I mean, they're probably the favorite sports there are college football and NASCAR. The Falcons, they've embraced the Falcons, but think about the Falcons. They've been in one Super Bowl in 56 years. So and they lost.
And they got creamed by Elway.
They got creamed by Elway. So this is a big moment for them. So.
Well, a friend of mine used to be a wide receiver for Atlanta.
Who's that?
Stacey Bailey.
Oh, yeah. From Terrell High School.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's he doing these days?
Well, he was coaching in Georgia.
Really?
And his son went, I think,
college
to Georgia Tech.
College, high school?
I think he was teaching high school.
Where did he go to high school? Where did he go to college? You remember?
San Jose State.
Okay. I just remember being around when I'd come on. I'm trying to remember when he played high school ball here. Would have been back in the 80s sometime, right?
He was a good basketball player.
Yeah, I just remember.
No, 70s.
70s, yeah. I just remember hearing about him and hearing.
He had a 48-inch vertical leap.
Wow.
And I think his main claim to fame was the famous Bartkowski to Willie White Shoes Johnson against the Niners.
Oh, yeah.
He was the guy who tipped the ball.
Was he the guy that tipped it?
Because he had the highest vertical leap.
Yeah, that's going back a few years. That's back to, I think, 1984 or something when they won the Super Bowl that year, I think. I remember watching that game and thinking that's not going to happen. And it's interesting to note, in 1991, about 6 years later, they did the same thing. They threw a touchdown pass, and I can't remember who made the grab, but it was against the Niners in Atlanta. Same scenario, Hail Mary pass, and they won. And it cost the Niners the playoffs that year. Steve Young got hurt, and Elvis Gerbach got hurt. And they had Steve Bono back there.
Oh, yeah.
And he was actually pretty good.
He was a good quarterback.
He was. They finished 10-6, but they did not make the playoffs that year. That was the one year they didn't make the playoffs. Well, they actually had a couple years they didn't make the playoffs. 82, the strike year.
Yeah.
But you think about that run.
And didn't Bono did he play for Cal?
Played for no, he went to UCLA, and then after he left the Niners, Kansas City had a pipeline of quarterbacks from San Francisco. They had Elvis Gerbach. They, of course, Joe Montana. Now they got Alex Smith. So it's interesting, all the little
leftovers.
Yeah, all the leftovers. That's what I think. That's the problem with the Chiefs is they have not really had that elite quarterback since Len Dawson. You think about him because they've had some great teams, but they're like the Falcons. They're like the Braves. They get in the playoffs and they choke, or they choke. They lose. They go up against a better team on a bad, or they play a team when they're down.
Well, it's funny. The San Francisco Giants used to be that way. They get all these players like way after their prime.
Yeah.
And
well, think about the Giants in the '60s. And I know we're digressing here, but the San Francisco Giants in the '60s, and a lot of our listeners not old enough to even remember the 1960s because they weren't even born then. But they had 5 Hall of Famers: Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal, Gaylord Perry, and Orlando Cepeda, and they won only one pennant. But in those days, only one team won the pennant from each league. They didn't have the playoffs until 1969. So yeah, you got a different era. I'll be honest with you. I grew up in the '60s, and the games weren't on television as much, and they didn't cost as much, and the players didn't make as much, and they didn't make such a big deal about the whole thing. But it was a big deal, and it was kind of because the players you didn't really get to know them as well because they weren't on television. You didn't see their faces a lot. They were almost mythical. They were almost kind of removed, and that made them more romantic. I think that's why Willie Mays became such. In my mind, the only time I ever saw Willie Mays was doing a commercial or maybe out in the field doing his thing. Never saw him talking, and I got to know him later. What a character! Talk about a storyteller.
I'd love to have him on the air, but I understand his hearing's going.
His hearing is actually his eyesight. His hearing isn't great. He's 85, and he'll be 86 this year. Willie is, if you get him in the right mood, he's kind of curmudgeon, kind of a crotchety guy. But if he likes you, and I've always got along with him, he will give you some great stories, and he loves to joke and laugh, and he's just a wonderful guy. If you have to get to know him though. If you don't, you kind of think, gee, what's wrong with this guy? He's got a bug up his butt. Come on, Willie. Jeez, lighten up for him.
Willie.
Come on, Willie. No, but Willie's great.
The last few years
Willie is great. He's the best.
He was always my favorite. As a fan watching.
Yeah, the best all-around player in the history of the game.
That's
Who could do all the things that he did as well as he did them.
It's like he's like the Kevin Durant of the NBA.
Yeah. Well, let's see Kevin Durant play for another 10 years, and we'll start comparing.
True.
There you go.
All right, we're going to go to our last commercial break here. Can you name 3 sports in which the participants move backwards most of the time in attempting to win?
Oh, interesting. Ooh.
And I was going to say, not boxing, you know.
Wow.
So think about that.
Wow.
And we're going to answer that question when we come back. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Make sure you email Edward at sportsecon101 the answer to that question. And any topics that you want to cover or you want us to cover in future shows. All right, so that's our question. Can you name 3 sports in which the participants move backwards most of the time in attempting to win? Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back with some closing comments.
That's a good one.
Kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Question. Okay, so this one is number 4. So we'll do our first segment and then our second segment. How's that?
Okay. Sounds good.
Just thinking, boxing you kind of move back, but not all the time. If you're moving back, you're probably not winning.
Yeah, it's true.
Or actually, you know what? Let's do our 4th segment.
Okay.
And then we'll go back.
Okay.
Answer the question.
No problem. Here you go.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan, my co-host. And I can see the smoke coming out of your ears for this question here. Can you name 3 sports in which the participants move backwards most of the time in attempting to win?
Well, technically, I mean, as far as team sports are concerned, basketball, baseball,
these are
football.
once a team sport.
Really?
That
Okay.
could be a team sport.
Okay.
The other ones are usually
Individually?
individual. I mean, it could be. In the other one, it could be both.
I was going to say, you could say boxing, but if you're going to be a winner in boxing, you have to be aggressive in approach. You know, surfing, you're surfing back to the beach. Skiing, you're skiing back to the lodge.
No.
But that's not backwards.
Okay, so swimming, you have backstroke.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Rowing.
Rowing, that's a good one. Yeah,
That's either team or individual. And the last one here we have is tug of war.
Very good.
Right?
Very good. I wouldn't have gotten any of those.
You didn't?
I didn't. And I wouldn't have.
I love teasing you.
Yeah, you do. Well, that's okay. I deserve it. My wife teases me too, so and my daughter. I'm just a punching bag at
You know
home.
what? So am I.
Well, yes. What is it about that?
Because we're nice guys.
Yeah.
No, I mean seriously, that's what it is.
I know. And then they get mad because they say, they want you to fight back. Well, if I fight back, then they say, hey, stop.
But you're mean.
You're mean, and you
exactly.
listen to me. Come on,
Yeah,
shut up
exactly.
and listen to me.
All right, here's our thoughts for the day. They say that nobody is perfect. Then they tell you practice makes perfect. I wish they'd make up their minds. Said Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, that's a good one.
And Hank Aaron said, it took me 17 years to get 3,000 hits in baseball. It took one afternoon on the golf course.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love that one.
That is a good one.
All right, so next week we got the Super Bowl.
We do. We'll talk about that. Maybe we'll get somebody on from the Super Bowl. Maybe.
Maybe during halftime.
Maybe.
No, we were. This is a Saturday show, so they'll be ready.
Well, I'll look for somebody down in Houston. See if I can get somebody. Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah.
All right. So there we are. Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. We're also going to be asking some more sports trivia questions, maybe some general ones, maybe football. You never know until you tune in.
Never know.
Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best.
Good night, America.
I'm your host. We'll see you next week.
All right.
So
That's a good show.
Okay.
Good show.
All right, so now let's just do our quick.
Okay.
That
was fun. I was in a goofy mood today.
Bruce Jenkins is good because he gives a pause enough to some
Yeah,
of these
no,
guys
he's
don't
very good.
know.
Some of these writers are not very good when you put them on, and they're good writers, but they're not good. He can do both. Some people can do that. There have been several writers I know that have actually transcended into broadcasting and have done a really good job.
Well, now when I watch the game, I guess I'll know the Warriors won barely.
Great game. I'll tell you that
Okay.
you'll enjoy the last 5 minutes.
Do I need to watch the first so many?
You watch the whole thing, but I mean, I turned it on with 5 minutes and 50 seconds to play. I was looking at the clock and going, oh shoot, the game's over. And then I get on my computer and go, I see that Charlotte's up 95-92 with 5 minutes to play, or 94-91.
Don't tell me the
I
rest.
won't tell you the rest. That's where you should watch it from.
That's what I should watch.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes. It's really fun.
Okay.
It's really fun.
Okay, it's funny because I can fast forward through stuff.
Yeah.
And it usually takes for a 2-hour game about an hour.
I'll just tell you one guy. I'll just say one name, Durant. That's all.
There you go.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do our
Okay.
intro here. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. This is the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Now, today's show is going to be kind of special. Who's going to be our guest coming on the next segment?
A good friend of mine who actually is a couple years older than me has been working as a sports writer, mostly for the San Francisco Chronicle for the better part of 35 years, covering specifically baseball and the NBA. Those are his two real bailiwicks. But Bruce Jenkins will join us, so I think you'll enjoy the conversation with Bruce.
All right. And at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And the answers, we want you to email edward@sportsecon101.com. And when Bruce comes on, we're going to talk a little bit of, like you said, the NBA, Major League Baseball. I understand he's got a couple of Billy Martin stories.
Oh, yeah.
And also some Bobby Riggs stories to tell us.
We've got some Bobby Riggs stories to tell.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that'll be kind of fun. That'll come in the later segment.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, still providing mortgage investments that are yielding. Right now, they're about 7.8%.
Sweet.
A little down from 8%, but rates have come down, but they're still very secure. Their average loan to value is only 55%.
Wow.
That's pretty low.
That is pretty low.
They've done over 1,200 loans. They've only had 2 go the full gambit of a foreclosure.
Wow.
Because they do very conservative.
That's the way to go.
That's the way to
That's
go.
the way to go.
All right. So again, you're listening to SportsEcon101.com. Again, at each commercial break, we are going to ask a sports trivia question. So make sure you stay tuned.
Got to be sharp. Got to
And
be
after
sharp.
Bruce Jenkins gets off the phone with us, we're going to talk a little football.
Little Super Bowl Sunday.
Little Super Bowl Sunday coming up. All right. So that's about it. And you can listen to Sports Econ 101 on iHeartRadio, Sports Byline, TuneIn, and CRN, as well as many other terrestrial stations. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
Very good. All right. Yeah, this radio thing, if it happens, it'll probably be kind of like what I was doing at KGO, hours-wise. So that'll be nice. And they pay a little better. I think they pay about $40 to